Organized crime has a long and storied history, and few names stand out as prominently as that of Lucky Luciano. Born Salvatore Lucania on November 24, 1897, in Lercara Fritti, Sicily, Luciano would eventually become one of the most influential figures in the American Mafia. Known for his strategic mind, charisma, and ruthless nature, Luciano reshaped the face of organized crime in the United States during the early 20th century. This video delves into the life, criminal activities, and ultimate downfall of Lucky Luciano, shedding light on his impact on the underworld. Early life and entry into organized crime. Lucky Luciano's journey into organized crime began in his early years. In 1906, he and his family immigrated to the United States, settling in New York City. Growing up in the slums of Manhattan's Lower East Side, Luciano became acquainted with street gangs and criminal activities at a young age. By his teenage years, he had already established a reputation as a skilled street hustler and petty thief. Rise to power. Luciano's ascent within the criminal underworld gained momentum during Prohibition in the 1920s. He quickly recognized the lucrative potential of bootlegging, and his strategic partnerships with other prominent gangsters, such as Meyer Lansky and Frank Costello, propelled him to new heights. Together, they formed the National Crime Syndicate, a network that controlled various illegal enterprises, including gambling, drug trafficking, and prostitution. The Commission and the structure of organized crime. One of Luciano's most significant contributions to organized crime was the establishment of the Commission. In 1931, he orchestrated the assassination of his rival, Joe Masuria, leading to the formation of a governing body that brought together the major crime families in the United States. The Commission, consisting of representatives from various families, aimed to resolve disputes, maintain order, and oversee the distribution of profits. Luciano's vision of a more structured and unified criminal enterprise revolutionized the Mafia and provided stability to an otherwise chaotic underworld. Criminal activities and notable incidents. Throughout his criminal career, Luciano was involved in numerous illicit activities. From his control over the New York City waterfront to his involvement in narcotics trafficking, he amassed significant power and wealth. Notably, Luciano played a pivotal role in coordinating the infamous Havana Conference in 1946, which brought together top criminal figures from around the world and solidified his influence on a global scale. The downfall and death of Lucky Luciano. In the 1950s, Lucky Luciano faced increasing scrutiny from law enforcement and government agencies. His attempts to regain control over organized crime in the United States were met with resistance, both from rival factions within the Mafia and from federal authorities. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics, FBN, relentlessly pursued Luciano, aiming to dismantle his drug trafficking operations. In 1959, Luciano was arrested in Italy on charges of international narcotics trafficking. He was extradited to the United States, where he faced trial in 1960. Despite his once formidable influence, the evidence against Luciano was overwhelming. In a plea deal with the government, he agreed to cooperate with authorities, providing information on his former associates and criminal activities. This cooperation resulted in a reduced sentence of 30 years in prison. Luciano served his sentence at the Great Meadow Correctional Facility in New York. Despite being behind bars, he continued to exert some influence over organized crime through intermediaries and trusted associates. However, his power and influence had significantly diminished compared to his heyday. On January 26, 1962, at the age of 64, Lucky Luciano suffered a fatal heart attack in Naples, Italy. His death marked the end of an era and a significant blow to the American Mafia. Luciano's funeral in New York City was a high-profile event, attended by both organized crime figures and curious onlookers. Legacy and influence. Lucky Luciano's impact on organized crime cannot be overstated. His visionary approach to structuring the mafia and establishing the commission set the stage for the modern criminal syndicates that followed. The commission's influence reached beyond New York City, extending its reach to other major cities across the United States. Luciano's ability to forge alliances and maintain a level of stability within the criminal underworld is a testament to his leadership skills. His business-oriented approach to organized crime, focusing on profitability and minimizing unnecessary violence, brought a level of sophistication to the illicit enterprises. Luciano's influence extended beyond the borders of the United States, as he established connections with criminal organizations in Europe and Latin America, further expanding his reach and influence. While Luciano's criminal activities were undeniably destructive and harmful, some argue that his cooperation with the government in his later years demonstrates a degree of pragmatism and self-preservation. His willingness to provide information on other criminals and organizations contributed to the dismantling of numerous criminal enterprises, serving the interests of law enforcement. Despite his death, Lucky Luciano's legend lives on. His name remains synonymous with the golden age of American organized crime. His story has been immortalized in books, films, and popular culture, further cementing his place in history as one of the most influential and iconic figures of the criminal underworld. Conviction, imprisonment, and legacy. Despite his cunning and ability to evade law enforcement for years, Luciano's reign eventually came to an end. In 1936, he was arrested on charges of compulsory prostitution and sentenced to 30 to 50 years in prison. However, World War II presented an opportunity for Luciano to contribute to the war effort. He struck a deal with the U.S. government and provided intelligence on possible Axis submarine locations, leading to his release in 1946. Following his deportation to Italy, Luciano attempted to regain control over American organized crime, but was thwarted by law enforcement and internal power struggles. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to show us some love by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. So stay tuned for our next video.